Hey everyone, welcome back to the shop. I've got the stomp moved back upstairs for the rest of the winter. Let's get to work on the Fokker D.VII. Alright, so for those of you that watched the last video I put out, I pretty much came out and said that the stomp is going upstairs. It's almost ready to paint. I mean, I've got everything else done. I just have to put 2 more coats of nitrate dope and filler on it, and then it's ready to paint. So we're that close to finishing up with the stomp. So luckily enough, I was gifted by a good friend of mine, Gino, of a Balsa USA, a quarter scale Balsa USA Fokker D.VII. That someone, I'm gonna find out who it was. Someone started building it. I know it wasn't Gino. Someone started building it, and I think it traded hands 2 or 3 times. So what I'm going to be doing in this first video is we're going to walk through everything that I have found so far that needs to be addressed, and most of it is doable. I mean, most of it, there's certain parts of it that are very well done, and the only thing I'll have to do is just do a little bit of sanding just to make sure everything's properly straight. But what I've got down here on the workbench right now is the tail section. Now I'll show you the horizontal stabilizer is pretty darn good. It just needs a couple little tweaks on it, and when I'm saying a couple little tweaks, it's probably about 5 or 10 minutes worth of work, and it's ready to go. So I'm very happy with the H-stab on it. Now the elevator, on the other hand, is not in good shape at all. So what I'm going to do is I'll get the camera set up just so we can walk through everything. And pretty much how I've already figured out how I want to do it, so that's probably how we're going to do it, just because I know that it's going to be stronger than this is, and which will make it last longer, assuming it don't crash. So let's get started. All right, this, as you all very well can see, this is not glued together properly at all. And the thing is, it's glued. So glued broken. That's all glued together. I mean, it's solid, but you can't, that's a no-no. That's a big no-no. So those of you that watch me build the stomp with the wingtips and the tail, we're going to do this to this section of the elevator as well, instead of just getting a big piece and just splicing it together and then sanding it down. We're going to laminate it just like I did on the back. So what I'll do is I will use the plans to go ahead and make the template for the inside of this, and that's easy enough to do. And then I'll just get some of the pink foam, go ahead, and that's going to be my template. And of course the phone's ringing because people love me. All right, we're going to laminate. So I made my little forms, and just to speed things up for me, it's easier for me because you can see the one sitting right there. It's easier, it'll be quicker for me just to cut 2 and glue 2 up at the same time. That way I'm not doubling my drying time on the glue, because as much as I'm trying to make this a very good quality build, I'm trying to speed it up so I can get it done a little bit quicker time. So more stuff will be done off camera on this, but when it comes down to something that needs a good explanation on what I'm doing and the way I'm doing it, you'll hear about it. So the first thing I'm going to do is, once this is all pretty much traced out, and what I did is I used the plans down here, set up a compass and did 3 points. So what I did is I came up, and it's close. This is not exact. We're just getting it close just for reference for you guys. So I made a point up at the top, a point down at the bottom, and then a point right in the middle. And once I got this lined up, I went ahead and put that down on a piece of cardboard. Then you just put the cardboard down on top of the foam, draw around it, cut it, sand it. Done. So I extended this out about 1.5 inches. So even though the line is here, I want to make sure that everything's going to go farther than it needs to go, so when it gets cut, I can get it cut to the right size. Hope that explained everything. Anyway, back to work. All right, we're laminating. I've got the other side already done. I'm going to go ahead and make you a little speedy up video just to show you how I do it. La música! All right, easy peasy. That took me a lot less time. It's the setup. Once I get everything set up, what's over there in the little blue bucket, it's kind of hard to see. And if we had smell-o-vision, you'd be able to smell it. It's hot water and ammonia. Because that's what really helps relax balsa. So that's done. Now it's just a waiting game. I could probably pull it apart later on today because right now it's about 12:20, 12:30. But I'll probably let that sit overnight. So then it's going to come time to start cutting apart the elevator. So while that's setting up, I'm going to move the elevator stuff off to the side. The next thing I kind of want to jump in on, because you can see I've got the wings back over there. What I want to take a look at, I got to dig out the plans for it, is this. This would be what you'd call the third wing, the bottom wing. It's the part that goes between the wheels. This one is very questionable. I mean, it's got all kinds of issues. You can see how the actual the rib caps are popped up over the front, and this was all glued with the same kind of glue I'm using down there. It's almost like a tight bond, which is a glue I don't like using on model airplanes unless you're laminating. I just try to stay away from it entirely, just because it makes the wood swell up. And when the wood swells up, sometimes it doesn't contract enough. And this one, it made it swell up, pop apart, and the guy never had them taped or clamped or pinned down. So that's why they lifted. So anyway, all right, let me get all this stuff moved out of the way, and let's see what we can jump into next.
Several days later.
All right, it's been a couple days since I was last down here in the shop gluing up the laminates. So here they are, completely dry. Well, here's one of them. Just popped them off the molds, and they are good. They are really strong too. Now in comparison, you can see I'm pulling on these things pretty good. This is what was on there. That's how easily those bad glue joints pop apart. That's why I laminated. And I've been sanding. All right, so where I'm at right now, and I didn't want to bore you guys with the long, chitter chat. I decided to go ahead and split the elevator in half instead of having the connecting rod in the middle, so it's just one servo on either side. For the most part, my big giant scale stuff, I like to have two servos going to the elevator, just because if one fails, you still have another one that's functional. Unless the whole battery system, goes kaput. So I decided to go ahead and I'm separating them. So I do have one done, and this was about 2.5, almost 3 hours worth of work, because it's almost entirely new. The only pieces out of the whole thing that I saved on this side was these two little stringers and this bottom piece right here. Everything else was all remade. And I did the, sorry about that. I did the 1/8 inch plywood the way it should be done, not the way that it was originally done. So this just needs a little bit of dressing up for the final sand down. But it's a nice, strong elevator, so I'm really happy with this. So yeah, so it's pretty much just about another 2.5, 3 hours of just making new pieces. Down here, that's the remaining part. I have 3 of the original, sorry about that, ribs. I guess we'll just call them ribs because they're not really stringers. And I don't know if they're going to fit yet. I had to modify the other side because it was just, both sides of the plans are a little bit different. So if you guys, if the plans for the Balsa USA, they're probably still made the same. The difference is negotiable. If you build it and you fly it, you're never going to see it. But what I try to do is I mirror images. So if I'm doing a cut on one side, I go ahead and do the same exact cut on the other side. Just because that's the way I want to do it. And it was a little bit off. It was maybe a 1/16 of an inch. So don't just say, hey, I'm not going to go out and buy a Balsa USA model, because there could be problems. It's like I said, it's a really good kit, and If you built everything according to plans, like I said, if one side's that much off, you're never going to know it. The plane won't fly any differently. So the next step is, as much as I'd like to start working right on the wings, I had to order up a set of plans from Balsa USA. So I'm giving that a good week and a half before it gets down to me. Now, what I did do, and this was all off camera as well. This was the sub wing, and I went ahead, cut the nose off, and put a proper nose on it. So this part is perfect. I don't have to change anything. Everything measured out. I didn't have plans to set it up on, but just go ahead and measuring distances, you know, cross measuring to make sure it's all square. This thing is good. It's these pieces, these miserable pieces that the only thing I can see right now that's relatively savable on these pieces, because if you see the nose piece, that's how bad that one was. Hence, I think there were two builders initially on this plane. I think somebody started it, somebody got it, started working on it, and then gave it to somebody else. But anyway, what I'm going to probably do is I can at least save the, because this side's been broken and the guy had to put a splice on the back side of it, but I can go ahead, I can copy a mirror image of this. It's just the plywood down here. That's the only thing, to me, that and the little wire holders are the only part of these things that are salvageable. So I will go ahead, remove those parts, put them off to the side, because the rest of the balsa and everything that I need to finish putting it together, I've got enough stock in balsa, so I'm not concerned about that. I've got plenty. So that'll be the next little thing to jump in on. And then we'll go ahead and put the wings up on the bench and do a real quick overview and see exactly what needs to be done with those, other than just taking off some of the rib caps and putting new ones on. So yeah, so that's about it. So just go ahead and call this a video, and I'll see you guys next time I'm back down here in the shop.